That Tuesday morning started like any other. I sat at my desk in our downtown Chicago office, sipping lukewarm coffee and reviewing the Patterson account files. My name is Marcus Webb, 31 years old, senior analyst at Bridgemont Financial Services. For 3 years, I'd clocked in at 7:30 every morning, stayed late most nights, and hit every target my manager threw at me. The promotion to team lead had been dangling in front of me for 6 months. My manager, Kyle Brennan, kept saying the same thing. Just one more quarter, one more successful project, one more miracle pulled from thin air. Then that morning, everything changed. Kyle called me into his office at 9:15. His face looked different, tighter somehow. He didn't meet my eyes as I sat down across from his glass desk. The city skyline stretched behind him through floor-to-ceiling windows. "Marcus," he said, adjusting his blue tie, "I need to talk to you about the team lead position." My stomach dropped before he even finished the sentence. I knew that tone. It was the same one he used when delivering bad news to clients who thought their investments were safe. Kyle leaned back in his leather chair and folded his hands. "We've decided to go in a different direction," he said slowly. I froze. My coffee cup sat forgotten on his desk, steam rising into the cold air conditioning. "What do you mean?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. "You told me last month I was the top candidate. You said my performance reviews were outstanding." He nodded quickly, too quickly. "They are, Marcus. Your work is excellent. But we need someone with more leadership experience, more presence in client meetings." I felt heat crawling up my neck. "I've led the Patterson account for 18 months. I brought in 3 new clients this quarter alone. I sent you the reports." Kyle waved his hand dismissively. I know, but the decision's been made. We're promoting Brian Kowalski instead." Brian Kowalski. The name hit me like a fist to the chest. Brian had joined our team 8 months ago, hired as a lateral move from another firm. He was Kyle's college roommate, his drinking buddy, his golf partner every Saturday morning. I'd watched them laugh together in the break room, heard Kyle promise Brian he'd take care of him. And now this. "Brian doesn't have my numbers," I said carefully. "He lost the Henderson account last month. That cost us $40,000. Kyle's face hardened. That wasn't his fault. The client had unrealistic expectations. I gripped the armrest of my chair. So 3 years of perfect performance reviews means nothing? 6 months of promises were just lies? Kyle stood up, signaling the conversation was over. "I'm sorry you feel that way, Marcus, but the decision is final. Brian starts as team lead next Monday. I need you to train him on your current accounts." The words felt unreal, like I was watching this happen to someone else. I walked back to my desk in a daze. Around me, phones rang and keyboards clacked. Nobody noticed the bomb that had just exploded in my career. I sat down and stared at my computer screen without seeing it. 3 years. 3 years of 70-hour weeks. 3 years of missing family dinners and canceling weekend plans. 3 years of believing hard work actually mattered. My phone buzzed. A text from Kyle. "Please don't make this difficult. It's just business. Just business." Easy for him to say. He wasn't the one getting passed over for his buddy. I opened my desk drawer and pulled out a folder I'd been keeping for months. Inside were printed copies of every email Kyle had sent me about the promotion. Every promise is documented. Every target I'd exceeded highlighted in yellow. I'd started keeping records 6 months ago when Kyle's timeline kept shifting. Something in his eyes had made me suspicious. Now I know why. At lunch, I sat alone in the cafeteria. My coworker, Teresa Park, slid into the seat across from me. She was 53, sharp as a knife, and had worked at Bridgemont for 15 years. "I heard about Brian," she said quietly. Her dark eyes were sympathetic but not surprised. "Word travels fast in this place." I pushed my sandwich away, appetite gone. Kyle promised me that position 6 months ago. Made me jump through every hoop. Teresa nodded slowly. "I've seen this before, Marcus. Kyle protects his friends. Always has. 3 people have quit in the last 2 years because of situations just like yours." I looked up sharply. "Why didn't anyone report it?" She shrugged. "Same reason you're sitting here instead of marching to human resources. We need our jobs. We have bills to pay. Kyle's connected to the regional director. Fighting him feels impossible. But something burned in my chest now, hot and bright. I'd always played by the rules. I worked harder, stayed later, been the perfect employee. And where had it gotten me? That afternoon I couldn't focus. I kept pulling up Brian's performance files on the company shared drive. His numbers were average at best. His client satisfaction scores were below department standards. He'd been written up twice for missing deadlines. Yet somehow he was getting my promotion. At 4 o'clock, Brian himself stopped by my desk. He had that easy smile people who've never struggled always wear. His expensive suit probably cost more than my monthly rent. "Hey Marcus," he said, leaning against my cubicle wall. "Kyle told me the news. I hope there's no hard feelings, man." I stared at him. "Hard feelings? Brian, I've been working toward this for 3 years. He laughed, uncomfortable now. "Yeah, well, sometimes things just work out differently. Kyle thinks I bring a fresh perspective. Plus, he and I go way back. He trusts me." The casual way he said it made my blood boil. This wasn't about merit or skill. It was about friendship. About who you knew instead of what you could do. "I need you to walk me through your accounts," Brian continued. "Kyle wants the transition smooth. Start next week?" I forced a smile that felt like breaking glass. "Sure," I said. "Whatever Kyle wants." After Brian walked away, I sat very still. My hands were shaking slightly. Around me, the office hummed with normal activity. But nothing felt normal anymore. I opened my email and started scrolling back through messages. Every project completion notice I'd sent Kyle. Every client praise email. Every weekend I'd worked while Brian was out playing golf. Then I found something interesting. An email from 3 months ago. Kyle had forwarded me a message from the regional director, Victoria Hayes. In it, she specifically mentioned me by name. "Marcus Webb's performance on the Patterson account has been exceptional. When the team lead position opens, he should be strongly considered." Kyle had never mentioned this email to me. Had never told me the regional director noticed my work. But he'd forwarded it. Why? I kept digging. The more I searched, the more I found. Kyle had been copying himself on my client reports for months, then presenting them in management meetings as general team achievements. My individual contributions had been buried under vague departmental success stories. I found presentation slides where my specific numbers had been included but not attributed to me. In one quarterly review, Kyle had literally used my Patterson account analysis word for word, presenting it as his own strategic insight. My jaw clenched so hard it hurt. He'd been stealing my work to make himself look good, using my results to justify his own bonuses and promotions. And now he was handing my earned position to his friend. I pulled out my phone and took pictures of everything. Each email, each presentation, each stolen report. If Kyle wanted to play dirty, he'd just started a game he didn't know I was playing. The old Marcus would have accepted this quietly, would have swallowed his anger and kept working. But that Marcus had just died in Kyle's office. That evening, I stayed late after everyone left. The office was quiet except for the hum of air conditioning and distant traffic sounds from the street below. I needed to think clearly, away from prying eyes. I made a list in my notebook. Every provable instance where Kyle had taken credit for my work. Every promise he'd made about the promotion in writing. Every time Brian had failed to meet standards yet faced no consequences. The evidence was damning. But I knew going to human resources directly would be risky. Kyle had been with Bridgemont for 12 years. He golfed with the VP. His college buddy ran the HR department. If I filed a complaint, it would disappear into a drawer somewhere. I needed a different approach, something that couldn't be ignored or buried. I thought about Teresa's words. Kyle's connected to the regional director. That gave me an idea. Victoria Hayes, the regional director, was based in New York. She oversaw 15 offices across the Midwest. She'd sent that email praising my work 3 months ago. I spent the next week playing the perfect employee. I smiled at Kyle in meetings. I started training Brian on my accounts, biting my tongue every time he asked basic questions I'd mastered 3 years ago. Brian didn't even try to hide his incompetence. During our first training session, he interrupted me to take a call from Kyle about weekend plans. When I explained client relationship protocols, he waved me off. Kyle says I should just be myself. Clients respond to authenticity. I nodded and kept my face neutral. Sure, Brian. Whatever works. Meanwhile, I was documenting everything. Every training session where Brian was unprepared. Every question he should have known the answer to. Every time he left early or showed up late. I kept a detailed log with timestamps and notes. At night, I worked on something else. A comprehensive performance report comparing my results to Brian's over the past 8 months. Numbers don't lie. My client retention was 97%. Brian's was 72%. My accounts averaged 15% growth. Brian's showed 3% decline. The following Monday, Brian officially started as team lead. Kyle threw a small celebration in the conference room. Cheap champagne and grocery store cake. Brian gave a speech about bringing new energy to the team. Kyle clapped him on the back and called him a natural leader. I stood in the corner, plastic cup in hand, watching. Nobody looked at me. Nobody acknowledged what had happened. I'd become invisible, my 3 years of work erased in an instant. That afternoon, Kyle called a team meeting. Brian sat at the head of the table, looking uncomfortable but trying to project confidence. Kyle stood beside him like a proud parent. Brian's going to be implementing some changes, Kyle announced. Fresh perspective, new strategies. We're excited about this next chapter. Brian cleared his throat. First thing, I want everyone submitting weekly individual reports directly to me. I need to understand what everyone's working on. I raised my hand. We already submit those reports to Kyle. Brian frowned. Well, now you're submitting them to me too. More accountability. After the meeting, Teresa caught up with me in the hallway. This is going to be a disaster, she whispered. Brian couldn't lead a tour group to the bathroom. Give him 3 months. Everyone will see. I shook my head. 3 months is too long. Teresa gave me a sharp look. What are you planning, Marcus? Nothing, I lied. Just doing my job. But that night I finalized my report. 20 pages of detailed analysis. Charts comparing performance metrics. Direct quotes from Kyle's emails promising me the promotion. Screenshots of presentations where Kyle had stolen my work. Documented instances of Brian's failures and Kyle's protection of him. And the final page, a clear pattern of favoritism and misconduct that violated Bridgemont's corporate ethics policy. I saved multiple copies on encrypted flash drives, sent copies to my personal email, printed hard copies and stored them in 3 different locations. Then I drafted an email to Victoria Hayes, the regional director. I didn't send it yet. Timing would be everything.